My beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Yes, today news is going to be on Channels TV with Shôçking and Mr. Peterside. Yes, for I think a week, during the week, that is our former head of state, IBB launched a book where in that book it talks about a lot of things. It talked about how MKO Abiola was the winner of election June 12th. In that launching of that book, a lot of dignitary were there, sorry. A lot of dignitary were there. Our president Tinubu was there. Good luck Jonathan. A lot of former head of state, former president of Nigeria, governors, everybody. A lot of people were in that event. So a lot of things happened. So today a lot of media has been interviewing different people. So today we'll be watching where Shôçking of Channels TV will be talking with Mr. Peterside about what happened in that event. What is the real issue in that book that IBB launch. So my beautiful people, if you are seeing me for the first time, my name is Joyce Anyanwu. Please, as you are watching, subscribe to this channel, like this video. Yes, please drop your own opinion in the comment section. As we watch this video together, we will know what to say. Then I will come back and react on the video. Thank you.
We'll be having conversation on several issues, but let me remind us of what happened earlier this week. Former military president Ibrahim Babangida provided his most detailed account yet of the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, a landmark event in Nigeria's democratic history that continues to spark debate decades later. For years, the circumstances surrounding the annulment have been shrouded in controversy, with various figures offering conflicting explanations. However, on Thursday, former head of state Babangida presented his own version of events in his autobiography, A Journey in Service, launched in Abuja. The book, reviewed by the former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, provides fresh insight into the historic decision that halted Nigeria's democratic transition. It also marks the first time President Babangida unequivocally acknowledged that late Chief Moshood Kashimalu, Olawale, popularly called MKO Abiola, won the election and that he regretted his annulment. But let me allow you to first listen to former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, the way he crafted how those who played some roles in the scheme of things in the past history, in the history of Nigeria and the present situation in the country, all of them gathered in one room. An interesting scenario, the way Professor Osinbajo painted it. Take a listen to him.
Former President Babangida, who played a key role in the coup that brought President Buhari to power in 1983, and later in another coup that removed him and brought Babangida himself into power. Yet today, President Buhari is represented at this occasion, celebrating the man who overthrew him and detained him for 3.5 years, his one-time old adversary, former President Babangida. And then, of course, there's a gentleman here who was an elected senator in 1992 in the course of Babangida's transition program. When Babangida annulled the 1993 election and General Abacha took over and dissolved the Senate, that senator tried to reconstitute the Senate in resistance to the dissolution. He was detained, charged to court. he escaped into exile. Today, he is also here to celebrate with his former tormentors. But as President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
In the most creative way, with the professor crafted his review of the autobiography. But interesting scenario playing out in the history of Nigeria's politics and democracy, and how the military, over the transition between the different coups that led to the Babangida junta. But then the man himself, Ibrahim Babangida, spoke, and his apology or the confession over the 1993 election came in this manner. Take a listen to him.
The tragic irony of history remains that the administration that devised a near-perfect electoral system and conducted those near-perfect elections could not complete the process. That accident of history is most regrettable. The nation is entitled to expect my impression of regret. As the leader of the military administration, I accept full responsibility for all decisions taken under my watch. And June 12 happened under my watch. Mistakes, oversights, and missteps happen in quick succession. But I say in my book, in all matters we acted in the supreme national interest so that Nigeria could survive. Our nation's march to democracy was interrupted, a fact that I deeply regret, but Nigeria survived and democracy is still alive, a testament to our resilience and commitment to progress.
There are a lot of Nigerians who are witness to history. Either somehow they've forgotten, or they are being reminded, or their memory is being juggled by what we saw on Thursday, or perhaps in some manner the truth of the whole matter is being brought up, and those who disagree or those who agree, this is one of the essence of when you document event, that those who think that you may have altered the truth or the fact of the event, but that is the essence of documenting these kind of things. Well, let's speak with Mr. Atedo Peterside, who is the president and founder of the ANA Foundation, and also the founder of the Stanbic IBTC Bank. He's live for us from Lagos. Mr. Peterside, it's a pleasure having you join us tonight on the program.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Thank you so much indeed. Let me begin the conversation tonight by getting to know your views. I can imagine where you were in the 1980, is it 83 coup, was it an 85 coup, and the transition between the Babangida, Abacha, the Shôçking, the Abdul Salami, the 1993 election, on the day that former head of state Babangida announced the annulment of the election. I can imagine where you were, and perhaps the presentation of IBB's autobiography will have made you reflect on those history, or perhaps the times in history. Give us an understanding of what you make of former head of state Babangida on his own account of what happened.
You're asking me to give a reaction to what IBB said. I think I'll just make one little observation that perhaps he has written, this time he has written a book in some detail, but it's not the first time he has spoken about the events of June 12, 1993. An interesting thing is that each time he speaks about events and he explains things, his story changes slightly. So if you say you take responsibility for something, people can respect that. But it's a little bit strange if you take responsibility in one breath, and then in your explanations, it sounds as if you're passing the buck to other people, a good number of them who have passed on. But I don't want us to focus too much on what IBB chose to write or what he chose to say at this time. I want us to focus more on that touchy subject of June 12th and why I think we should separate the book launch. You see, the book launch was a spectacle, and I think the whole way it was presented, hindsight, my personal opinion is that when we are touching a subject like that, we have to create a very somber occasion, eliminate, jokes, laughter, backslapping. It's almost like saying, I know it might sound like an extreme case. June 12th, many people lost their children. Some lost their parents. It's a serious thing. When we are discussing the Holocaust, there should be no laughter in the room. When we are discussing June 12th, it's a serious subject. And some of us were a little bit upset at the general mood and the banter and the laughter and so on. It made us feel for those who lost their parents or lost their parents or lost their child and so on. So I think let's be very careful, because we are, whether we like it or not, we have a responsibility to help to shape what is right and what is wrong, to try and help to influence today's youth, whether we like it or not, in terms of demography. Those of us who are above 65, I'm not yet 70, but those of us who are above 65 in Nigeria, we are less than 5%. So we don't matter. Those who matter are the young ones, who are by far the majority. We have to be careful what lessons we are sending to our children and grandchildren, so that hopefully they can help to build a greater country. Finally, I would say that on the issue of June 12th, and perhaps you were impressed, but I'm not impressed by coming out to admit something over 3 decades later. Definitely, it's okay if you need to get some ghosts off your back or something, but let it be very somber. Let it appear like an occasion for almost mourning. I think that's what upset a number of people. They may not be able to articulate it, but in all that banter, laughter, backslapping, fundraising, raising large sums of money at a time when many people are financially hard up, announcing the figures, I think we just be a little bit careful. You don't handle the Holocaust that way. You don't handle the death of people's loved ones that way. So that's just a comment I wanted to put on the table first, Sharon.
If you look at if Ibrahim Babangida is owning up into what happened at the time, he said everything under his watch, it takes full responsibility. But are those who, even the Abacha family are already coming out and saying, he's thrown their father, or Sonny Abacha, under the bus, and it's easier to blame the dead. And the Abiola, some of Abiola's family, children, associate, the likes of Femi Falana, Showore, and those who were on the street are already speaking. Those who were sent to exile, including President Bola Tinubu, who are supposed to be members of the cabinet, at a time when all of these issues happen, are already speaking up and saying, look, there are a lot of things to reflect on. There are those who say, look, it's in fact very interesting that Babangida is owning up. It's better than him not owning up. But in all of his conversation, is it more bravery for him to have owned up? Were you expecting that kind of narrative from his book?
I mean, one of my favorite sayings is a quote from Oscar Wilde, when he says, look, every saint has a past, every sinner has a future. I don't want you to get the impression that I'm saying that if somebody did something wrong, he cannot later on own up to it. That's why I keep emphasizing my concern is more like the mannerisms, the mood, the occasion, the banter, the laughter, to discuss a serious national event where people lost loved ones. That's what I'm rejecting first and foremost. So I don't want the focus to be, I disagree with some of the details, but I don't consider that to be my priority, more than sending the message that this is not the way we handle something as serious as that event in our history. That's not the kind of signal we should send to the younger ones. So I'm concerned about the spectacle. You see, we could have even, let's say if somebody wants to make a confession, it's not meant to be a serious thing, showing penance, calmly, whatever. This was a bit of a jamboree, and that's what I think offended many people. So it is the style that surrounds. You can't remove the razzmatazz and the backslapping and all that so jokes and all that surrounded something from the book itself. So I think let's be very careful. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with him writing a book. He can write a book. If he wants, he can rewrite it. He can change the story each time. That's his prerogative. But I just want to make it very clear that some of us take exception to the manner and style in which the whole event was conducted.
Okay.
Instead of being something to admit, show penance, a show of shame, it was almost a celebration of sorts. And so therefore it offended many people.
Let me ask you, Mr. Peterside, I imagine that you yourself, you probably are going to be a grandfather. If you're not, I don't know. I think you are right now. And a lot is going to happen when the generation upon generation are moving, and history, a lot of times, a lot of people who had said so many things about those events in the life of when Ibrahim Babangida was head of state, perhaps one of the longest serving military head of state in Nigeria. One person that a lot of people thought was going to transit in becoming, removing the khaki in wearing the Babariga. But if you look at it this way, how does it come to you? How much of an irony is it for you? The jailer and the jailed at one time in history sitting in the same room. Those who were in the trenches and those who were being fought against, all of them sitting on the same table. And those who think that for whatever is what, the Nigeria, does it explain what the Nigeria political elitism looks like for you? What the caliber of people and the combination of people you saw in that room, in the videos that are being circulated?
You see, I'm not here to indict anybody, but I think that if you're not careful, the Nigerian elite would normalize, deceit or fraud and things like that. They will normalize all sorts of things, and that's why some people have to point out, listen, enough is enough. Let's draw a line somewhere. There's some things you cannot joke with. You can joke with all kinds of other things. So we have to draw a line somewhere. And the other thing I want to explain is that, by coincidence, very recently, we lost two very highly respected elder statesmen, people who helped to show example in terms of standing for the truth repeatedly. When you heard something from Chief Adebanjo, you could take it to the bank. When you heard something from Chief E.K. Clark, you could take it to the bank. Those two of them passed on very recently. I served on the national conference with both of them. We were together in Abuja, and that was in 2014. We were delegates. I was the federal government delegate. We were involved in exchanges, arguments, for almost a whole year. So we have to be careful, because elderly statesmen like that, who helped to set the right values for some of our youngsters in terms of standing for something, always telling the truth and so on, they've passed on. We have to make sure that a different group of elders also appear to fill that vacuum, who will stand for the truth, tell the same story the same way, tell the whole truth that will set them free. Because at the end of the day, it's a struggle for the soul of a nation. In many countries, people say it's the intelligentsia who influence everything and influence people and set the way. Even June 12th, when IBB annulled that election, that was the first time we had mobile phones. I voted on my street in Victoria Island. We knew the results. The results are coming all over the country except for, I think, Taraba State. So I was a baby then. I was in my 30s. So I knew what happened. And I was among the first one of people that came out after the annulment to say, you can't do this. And went public, newspapers and all. Interestingly, one of the articles I wrote then, and I've never heard anybody use the expression. I sat down in my house because then there was no internet, and I called it the ghost of June 12th. And what I was writing then was that June 12th will be like a ghost, and it will haunt some people forever. Interestingly, since then, I've seen the expression, because I even tried to look for the internet whether somebody had posted that article. I couldn't find it. But I saw that many people had been referring to the ghost of June 12th. And I think what we saw also playing out on Thursday was the ghost of June 12th haunting some people. And it's still haunting them, unfortunately.
In all of these conversations, something is fundamental, that there is a value that either somebody did something wrong or somebody did something right. The values of the June 12 election still stand as a beacon. And today in Nigeria, we still make reference to June 12 as perhaps Nigeria's freest and fairest election in history. Is there any lesson? I mean, because the IBB book is not the only event that has talked about the June 12 election, but it does come at a point also that we need to reflect on our electoral integrity. Mr. Peterside, what's your view about the state of our electoral system in Nigeria, and perhaps any lesson that can be drawn from the June 12 election based on what is going on right now?
Well, yes, I'm an advocate of electoral reform. Yes, June 12th appeared like a free and fair election. Interestingly, we went backwards after that. Some of the elections we had, including 2003, 2007 elections, were an outright sham. Then more recently, INEC conducted the elections credibly up to Osun State governorship elections. And then after that, INEC more or less went rogue. Started having this issue of, as they're collating, they claim there was a glitch, and then people take result sheets. My source is INEC Idol. I've shown it on TV before. It's still there today. Altering results anyhow. And related, jumping up everything, coming up with results that people understand. If this process was clean and fair, why always a glitch? It's happening in those states. I don't want to go into details, but it's sad for a nation that over 3 decades ago we had a free and fair election, and yet today INEC appears to have gone rogue. I'm indicting INEC based on the data that they have on their own IREV, which is a platform for the public to go and look at polling unit result sheets. Look at the nonsense they post now with confidence, knowing that it doesn't matter. And they believe that, after all, if you don't like it, go to court. And the judiciary will probably, they hope, whoever thinks that the powers that be, embarrass them. In a serious country, if you posted those kind of results on an INEC IREV, some people will be prosecuted. Perhaps even the INEC chairman may have to resign. But unfortunately, we have a situation where, you see, and let me be very fair, there's some decency in INEC. We're of 200 million people. There's no organization that you won't find a combination of the good, the bad, and the ugly. An organization goes rogue when those at the top have lost the plot. There are some good ones in INEC at the bottom, and they are frustrated. We have to clean that place up and also put in place electoral reform. INEC has too many powers, including the power to decide who they wish to disenfranchise via this less PVC that we don't even need. So there's a lot we have to do to unpack. So if we need to learn from the lessons of June 12, it includes how can a country that in 1993 could conduct free and fair elections. When that was the first election with mobile phones, we used them, we communicated, came up with credible results. Then over 3 decades later, with improvement, computerization and everything, we are now down to the crude level of people sitting down and altering result sheets and posting them on INEC IREV. So in 3 decades we've gone back. We have gone backwards. We have replaced a credible NEC at the time they called it with an INEC today that has gone rogue. The responsibility is that of President Tinubu to make sure that he leaves a legacy that includes electoral reform.
In what shape and color? In what shape and color would the electoral reform come? What would you be advising specifically when we talk about electoral reforms? Because that term could be very wide-ranging.
It's what's to come. It's like saying we all know what is right and what is wrong. We know what transpired in the Osho elections governorship. And I'm praising INEC for the way it was conducted. I went on INEC IREV, you could see all the results, polling unit by polling unit, the parties signed, they did the collation, they gave a total. At 6 p.m. or was it 7 p.m. of the same day we voted, we all knew the results. So we know how to do it. Then we started getting into this game of the Electoral Act doesn't actually say that you must upload the results. It's not compulsory you do this, it's not compulsory you do that. So we started backsliding. Perhaps because the Osho governorship went the way it did, and APC lost, PDP won. So perhaps some people swore that never again. So we now have to go through this situation of investing so much in INEC, giving them all the equipment, which on the day they will sabotage and take us back to manual collation, altering result sheets, and then announce a result that does not make any sense. You can look at the Edo State election. It's posted by INEC, the public documents. I drew attention and put on my Twitter page of polling units where the total number of votes cast was more than the voters who were accredited. That's a disgrace. So let's know that we know what is wrong. Let's not pretend that we don't know. It's because we don't want to do it. All over Africa, some countries are improving the electoral system. Nigeria has to join that bandwagon. Because if you're not careful, the signal we've sent now is that elections in Nigeria, the next election that's coming, everybody go and get your thugs. This last election, we know what happened in some places. Go and get your thugs. Not only will some voters be disenfranchised first by INEC, making sure they don't get their PVCs, then even when you want to go and vote on the polling on the day of the election, some thugs will buy you from getting to the place, sometimes based on where they think you are from in the country, whether you're an indigene or not. It will become a case of free-for-all. People will be exchanging bullets and fighting and all that. Because you know, hey, at the end of the day, it's not an honest endeavor. It's about who can grab and manipulate and declare themselves winner. And that's why I made a comment once before. I'm a Democrat at heart. If you are not have credible elections, and just snatch something and say they have won in this state or the other state, let me ask you a question. How is that really better than military rule? Some civilian bandits grab something and pronounce themselves winner. For military rule, some soldiers come together and pronounce themselves your ruler. What is the difference? Let's be honest to ourselves. The only difference is if the one was democratic and our votes would counted and there was credibility in the process and in the results. So it's for the nation to choose. We can decide to continue like this, where people now know the next election, I think, is coming in one of these states. Anambra is coming, other states are coming, where people can now decide, go and hire all the thugs, go and do this, go and do the other, hijack everything, manipulate, make sure there's a glitch, INEC will stop collating, they will go on a break, the wonderful results will come out. Come on, let's get serious as a country.
Let's take a breather, Mr. Peterside. And when we come back, much more to talk about on the state of our election, judiciary, and in fact, the state of our economy. So much more after this break, everyone. Join us again.
So the issue is that we know the correct thing to do if we want to do it. So your question is that, are we deliberately putting rotten eggs in INEC so that on election day, the ruling party candidates who know they are not popular can rely on these rotten eggs to go out there and bastardize the system, corrupt the whole processes, and ensure that the election is not free and fair? Now, that is the problem that the opposition parties should make a big issue and put on the table of President Tinubu. Electoral reform is not something that the president will chase you and come and give you. You've got to be the ones to pile the pressure. We were lucky in this country that when President Deâth was president, we had a situation where a sitting president was so ashamed by the elections that produced him and Goodluck Jonathan in 2007 that when he became president, he decided he was going to try and clean up the process and bring in some serious reform, because he was embarrassed by the election that produced him. That is rare. Usually in most other countries around the world, and in Africa in particular, it's opposition parties that pile the pressure. They come together and pile pressure on the government. See, because when you think about it, you're just going to have a situation where people go out, it doesn't matter what the voters do, you alter result sheets, announce a result. Then it's similar to what the old quote about Stalin, that the people who decide is not the voters, but those who write the result sheets. So it's for the opposition parties to put that pressure, put that as the priority, and say, hang on a second. We are not just going to continue with this same old nonsense. We have to sit down and work together. And then the government of the day can either tell them to go to hell, we will continue. Then we know who the enemy is. But I think we should be careful not to make it too easy for a ruling party in Africa to just sit down there and have tainted elections indefinitely. That's not what you wish for your children, is it? And let's not make it seem as if the technology is so advanced. We have the technology. I spent a fortune on technology, which they refuse to use. And then we have courts that will say that it's okay for a government agency to put out rules and say this is how we will conduct something. And on the day they can violate their own rules and it's all right. So apart from the electoral reform, we also have to discuss the judiciary. Because you need the two.
Now,
to achieve the desired outcome.
So, but where do we start from? That's a big question. I know the National Assembly is doing its own bit in electoral reforms, but the question is that, Mr. Peterside, are you asking, will be suggesting to President Tinubu tonight to begin a process from the executive point of view of these electoral reforms? Because you said earlier that it should leave a legacy of a strong electoral system.
That is my advice to him. He can decide to do it, he can decide to reject it, but guess what? When you talk about legacy, it's about what do you want to remember. Occupying Aso Rock and hardship and pain, do you want to be remembered that, okay, if I, through a system, might I was elected and all that, I'm going to make that my legacy. I'm going to keep this before I leave. So that when people discuss and who transformed the electoral process, he will get the credit. I think this changes to people can help him by piling pressure. Sometimes the pressure makes you decide, okay, this guy's at a point. I want to be known as the person, in spite of everything else. I made the required changes to ensure that me, or even for me as well, and my party, this nonsense has to stop. We have to leave Nigeria better than we met it. That is a responsibility for every leader. You leave the institution you met better than when you got there. Here we're in danger now of successive governments leaving INEC worse than how they met it. So, I mean, it's not something that we can gloss over. And I hope that the opposition parties and everybody else, the media, the civil society, and everybody, will bring it to the front burner.
I mean, it's definitely, it doesn't look like it's only our electoral system that needs a reform. There are those who have also been advocating for judicial reform. And I was monitoring some of the things that you said when the case between Chief Afe Babalola and Mr. Dele Farotimi came up. Let me get your take on how that matter panned out. At some point, Chief Afe Babalola listened to some traditional rulers and said, I'm going to let go and I'm going to move past this one. But what is your view on what happened between the two men?
That's a good example of how pressure, public opinion, peer group pressure can lead to a better outcome. Personally, I was in Dubai when somebody sent me a tweet from Dele Farotimi. I think I still have it on Twitter page, where he said he didn't name anybody, where he said some big men or somebody that were arranging for him to be abducted or something like criminal, defamation or whatever else. In fact, he wasn't even sure at the time. It was very early in the day. And I thought, hang on a second, in the 21st century, are we not going to sit down and allow somebody in Lagos to be abducted by police? Almost like sort of Gestapo. Because he upset or annoyed, let's even say he libeled some big rich man. Is that the kind of country we want? So nobody spoke to me before I was among the. I don't even heard anybody protest when I came out screaming that this does not make any sense. We can't allow this. And you see, Nigeria, we have to be very careful. People will sometimes think that, it's okay because they are both Yorubas. Nonsense. If I reverse the same action and put different names, and let's say somebody from Nnewi was not happy with somebody from Lagos or from Oyo who is in Lagos, therefore accused him of something and came to Lagos to kidnap him and take him before judges in Nnewi. Some of the people who were saying it was all right for Dele will be screaming, that we can't allow that. Since some of us don't change our principles or the way we look at issues based on who is involved, we look at it in terms of, hey, if you allow a system, I'm outspoken myself, even this interview I'm doing with you, I didn't have to do it. You invited me, I agreed to come, I'm outspoken. So it doesn't mean that each time I say something that some people don't like, they can just decide that, I defame them criminally on service program, so they can kidnap me and take me to Zamfara. Because after all, in this interview, I've mentioned various parts of the country from Osho. If I mention Zamfara and offend somebody, is that the kind of country we want? So when so many of us came screaming, and of course we screamed because we said, hey, these obnoxious laws were put on the statute books by the British in those days. They used it to silence the natives. And also there's a responsibility. When you are a successful sector or private sector personality, and you have been blessed with phenomenal resources and all that, we don't expect, and I'm not talking about Afe now, I think generally, we don't expect to see you use that position or abuse that privilege to crush people who are not so fortunate financially.
Beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My God, we have heard what Mr. Peterside just said. You can still see the anger, the bitterness in this man. First of all, somebody came out and said, I wrote a book, I am launching this book. And now it's like, what decision, I want to come out and say what I have done, what I did in past, please forgive me. And you know that according to what Mr. Peterside just said, that the ghost of June 12th, is still haunting a lot of people, and it will still be haunting them until they decided to until they go back to their ancestors. Yes. So according to him, he said for this kind of situation, somebody that won election, fair and free election, and the person won, because you are in charge, you Babangida, you are in the position. Instead of you handing over according to the promise to that same person that won that election, what you decided to do, you arrested the person, you put the person in the krikri. After then, the person went away and came back, and you people decided to buy that person. Then you used that election that you won and gave it to Abacha. That which means the promise you as a man, a dignity man, a promise you made that I'm going to hand over the power to civilians or to democratic. Nigeria is going to be a democratic country. You did not keep to that promise. Instead of that, because of this thing, because of that election, he lead MKO Abiola to his early grave, leaving his wife, his children, everybody behind for something he did not do wrong. You can see this Peterside is very, 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 very angry. Then you come out now and say, all the blame is on me. This man he won the election, which everybody in 1993, everybody knows that MKO Abiola won that election. You don't even need to come out and tell us that yes, he won. You're supposed to come out and tell us the way you people manipulated that man and by that man. That's what you're supposed to be telling us, because you're not supposed to tell us that yes, the man won. We know that the man won the election. This is hard. Tomorrow our president Tinubu will come out and say 2023 election, Peter Obi won the election, but because of all the blame should be on me, this and that and that, then all of us will be clapping the way they are clapping, the way our former vice president is talking, and everybody is clapping, because they know that all of them, like according to Mr. Peterside say, this is not something that is supposed to be fun. This is not something that's supposed to be joke. This is a serious issue. But why are they clapping? Why are they taking it like it's a very funny incident, or it's a very funny event? Because for me, why they are laughing? Because every one of them in that hall has done the same thing what IBB did. You want to go and challenge IBB? You cannot challenge him, because when you challenge him, it will reveal your own secret. It will reveal what you have been doing. It will reveal it. So the best thing for you is for you to give him applause, for you to clap for him, for you to, you did well. You see, you did well, Like that book launching, a lot of people have come out to say, no, the thing did not go well. That launching of that book did not go well. Even I was reading a comment when somebody said it is supposed to, first of all, and give a silent movement for all the people that they have fight, especially in this Abacha IBB regime, that military regime. All the people that they have fight, they're supposed to first of all stand up and give them a silent movement, for the memory of their fight or their this thing. So you can see all of them sitting in that hall. They have involved in one scandal or other. Is it Tinubu? Tinubu will come tomorrow and say, after all, Peter Obi is the one that won the election. Put everything on me. Put every blame on me. Then all of them will start clapping. Anyway, my beautiful people, the man talked a lot. Peterside talked a lot of things. He talked about the INEC. Okay, look at now. how can INEC, this same INEC has been in Buhari regime, and now from Buhari regime is still in Tinubu regime? Does it mean, and he has been causing atrocity? And if you even listen to what this Mr. Peterside said, he said in those days, then 1993, they did fair and free election, that everybody, it was clear that even MKO Abiola won the election, even though they did not allow him to rule as the winner of that election. But it was fair and free election. But today, there is nothing. The man is so bitter. Like today in Nigeria, there is nothing like fair and free election. He even said, he make a mention that if it is in advance world, that result that they post in INEC quarter or INEC one, he said INEC chairman supposed to be in soup. Sorry, INEC chairman supposed to be arrested because everything they did there, it was totally nonsense. According to him, it was totally nonsense because ballot box being snatched, ballot papers being burned, they would stop some people not to go in and vote because of you are not from this tribe, and all those things were clear. People saw it, but still they still gave to Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He even talked about Edo State election. He talked about Osun election. This man, I know that no man is perfect, but for this case like this man has really spoken very well, and you can really see the anger, the bitterness is still in him. Even when I was reading the comment section, somebody said that this man was strongly behind Peter Obi. For you to really trust somebody and say this person will make Nigeria better, let this person go. And after people came out to vote for that person, and suddenly something changed, and they collected everything. Even when the man presented a lot of evidence in the court, but the judiciary just said, the court say, that is how it is, because all of them, they have been bought over, And another thing is that, why is still INEC chairman still there? Why can't Tinubu remove him and replace another person? Why can't Tinubu remove him? Because Tinubu knows that has been their plan, that has been what they want. For him today, that has been their agreement. I will help you to rig this election, because they know that if Peter Obi come there, all this nonsense will not happen. So that I will help you to rig this election, but my own is that I'm going to be still sitting there as INEC chairman. Nah, man. May God help Nigeria. God will surely help Nigeria. Because even I was reading some, for example, now we are still talking. They are still keeping Nnamdi Kanu there. The last court they went to, the woman said that he has postponed the court sitting to indefinitely. Why must you do that? Okay, come out. If this man is wrong, let him go to jail. If he is not wrong, release him. You are just keeping him there. Why are you keeping him there? Then tomorrow you will come out and say, Nnamdi Kanu did not. When the man stayed away one day, now he died because of suffering, tormenting, all those things, he died. Then after 32 years, or after how many years, the way Ibrahim came out just now and said, after 32 years, then he came out and he wrote a book. Yeah, all the problem of Nigeria, I bear the consequences. That's how people will come out tomorrow and say, all what happened to Nnamdi Kanu, I bear the consequences. Why are you people cannot release Nnamdi Kanu now? When you are still in power, you will not do the right thing. When you know that you are no more in power, you cannot do anything anymore. That's the time you will come and be fighting. But when you were there, why didn't you straighten the mistake? Even this man talk about Yar'Adua, the way they put him there. Is it not Obasanjo that put Yar'Adua there? Is it not Obasanjo? Obasanjo put him there, and he used Kurukewe and put him there. Although the man say no, I have to straighten this thing. But today, Obasanjo is not in the power anymore, but he's coming out every day to want to come and straighten things, want to come where you are not more in the power. Who is going to listen to you? You are out of power. What can you do? You cannot do anything. Every day you come out, you want to do this, you want to do that. When you were in power, why didn't you straighten the things and so that you get a legacy? According to Mr. Peterside, now he has said Tinubu should do the right thing so that he will have a legacy tomorrow to back up. Anyway, my beautiful people, you see, this life no balance. Nigeria, I don't know when Nigeria will good. Okay, now this man has come out and say, and he wrote a book and say all these things. What is the consequence? The consequence is only to clap for the man and hail the man and say you did well. Yes, because all of them, they are still doing the same thing that Babangida did. They are still doing the same thing. But according to the man, he said that ghost of June 12, he will haunt them until, you know, they go back to their ancestors. Anyway, my beautiful people, what did you think about this video? Please drop your own opinion in the comment section. Thank you if you have watched this video to this time. For those that have been watching my video, thank you very much. Sorry for always coming back to watch my video. Thank you, and please subscribe. I will see you in my next one. Bye for now.